The pain you keep trying to forget still lives in you. It shows up in quiet moments. When you brush your teeth and avoid looking into your own eyes. When a song comes on and your heart clenches just for a second, but you don't let yourself cry. When someone says something kind to you and you want to believe it, but something inside whispers, you don't deserve that. That voice is not yours. It was planted there years ago. Maybe by someone who loved you wrong. Maybe by someone who never saw you. Maybe by the silence when you needed warmth. But here's the truth no one told you. You are allowed to let go, even if it's all you've known, even if it feels like losing a piece of yourself. Today I want to show you something deeper. Not with steps or advice, not with rules or strategy, but with truth that slips into the cracks of your heart where nothing else has reached. A truth that's been waiting for you. Quietly, lovingly. We'll walk through what Carl Jung quietly understood, that you do not find peace by adding more. You find it by letting go, and I know what you might be thinking. Letting go sounds like surrender, like giving up, like weakness, but it's not. It's the most courageous act of self-love there is. So if your heart is tired, if your spirit is sore, if your soul is whispering, please, I just want peace, then stay. Let this be just for you. Take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. You don't have to hold it all anymore. And if you feel something stir inside you, something you've buried or tried to silence, good. That's where we begin. Before we move forward, if you feel seen already, if something in you is leaning in, take a moment and give this channel your presence. Subscribe, leave a like, share it with someone whose heart might be hurting too, but only if it feels true to you. Because everything we do here must feel true. There is a moment in everyone's life, sometimes more than once, when they sit alone, not just physically but emotionally, surrounded by people, yet invisible, loved but not quite understood, smiling while something inside them slowly aches. And in that moment, they don't ask for much. Not fame, not success, not even happiness, just peace. The kind that quiets the endless questioning. The kind that lets you exhale without guilt. The kind that lets your heartbeat slow down enough to hear the small voice beneath all the noise say, I'm still here. But that peace, it doesn't come by forcing more. It arrives only when you release. There's something you're carrying that you don't need to anymore. And maybe no one ever gave you permission to let it go. Maybe no one ever told you that you're allowed to live without it. So let's start with the first thing. The first thing you must let go of to find inner peace is the need to be who they needed you to be. It starts early. As a child, you learn to shape yourself like clay. You notice when your laughter is too loud and someone flinches. You speak your truth and they say, don't be dramatic. You cry and they call it weakness. So you adjust. You pull back. You become who keeps the peace. You become who gets approval. You become who is safest to love. But here's the tragedy. That version of you, the one shaped by survival, it became your identity. You stopped asking, what do I want? And started asking, what do they need me to be? So you became the overachiever, the fixer, the listener, the one who never needed too much, the one who didn't complain, the one who smiled when everything inside was breaking. You carried the emotional weight of others so often, you forgot you were allowed to be held too. And slowly, that mask hardened. It became easier to wear it than to risk being real, because real got you hurt, real got you abandoned, real got you silence. But now, you're no longer that child, and the people who couldn't hold your truth no longer get to define your worth. You're allowed to outgrow the version of you that was built on fear. Letting go of that need to be what they needed is terrifying, because it means standing in the unknown. It means someone might not like you. It means losing roles that once kept you safe, but it also means something else. It means you get to breathe again. It means you get to be messy, loud, soft, emotional, still, powerful. It means you get to come home to yourself. Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who they raised, not who they praised, not who they tolerated, but who you've always been beneath it all. And you might wonder, but who am I if I'm not who they needed? That's the beautiful question, because when you ask that, the healing begins. Take a moment, place your hand on your chest. Feel that rhythm? That's your soul knocking. It never stopped. You just silenced it to survive. But you don't have to survive anymore. You get to live. Letting go isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet decision you make in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, whispering, "I can't keep doing this." Not because you're weak, but because you finally realize that carrying everything is not love, it's self-abandonment. And now, we arrive at the second thing you must let go of to find peace. The illusion that you must earn your worth. You weren't born trying to prove yourself. You didn't come into the world thinking you had to be prettier, smarter, more successful, more pleasing, more perfect. That came later. Maybe it started when love became conditional, when affection was given only when you achieved, when praise came only when you performed, when silence met you after you failed, so you learned. That love had rules, that safety had requirements, that your worth was a fragile thing, handed to you only when you were good enough. And so, you hustled, you worked harder, you gave more, you sacrificed yourself for approval, one smile, one compliment, one moment of validation at a time. But it never lasted, did it? Because once your worth is tied to what you do, what happens when you stop? Who are you when you're not producing, fixing, pleasing? That question has haunted you, because deep down, you fear that without your effort, you are unlovable. And that belief has kept you in rooms where you don't belong, in jobs that drain you, in relationships that take without giving, in patterns that feel like love but taste like survival. Let me say something to you now, and please, let it land in the part of you that's still trying to prove. You were worthy the day you were born. Before the grades, before the praise, before the heartbreaks and the breakdowns and the endless chasing of enough. You were enough when you cried for no reason. You were enough when you failed that test. You were enough when you said no, even when they didn't understand. You still are. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." But I'd like to whisper something softer into your ear. You are not your productivity. You are not your achievements. You are not your usefulness to others. You are your breath, your presence, your heart, your laughter, your stillness. You are your story, every crack, every fall, every rise. But to embrace this, you must let go of the lie that you have to earn it. Because the truth is, peace doesn't come when you finally achieve enough. Peace comes when you realize you always were. So tonight, rest. Not because you've earned it, but because you're human. Breathe. Not because you've done everything right, but because you're alive. And love, not because someone gave you permission, but because it's already in you. You don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to chase anymore. You don't have to prove anymore. You just have to come home. Sometimes the deepest pain isn't what was done to you. It's what you had to do to survive it. What you had to bury. What you had to pretend didn't hurt. What you had to become to make it through. And this brings us to the third and final thing you must let go of. The belief that you have to carry it all alone. You became strong too early. Not because you wanted to be, but because you had no choice. Maybe someone you trusted left, or stayed and made love feel like walking on broken glass. Maybe your cries went unheard, or worse, dismissed, so you built walls. You became the calm one, the capable one, the one who never falls apart. You held space for everyone. You listened. You fixed. You absorbed. But no one asked, "And who holds you?" So you taught yourself not to need. You convinced yourself it's safer to carry it all than to ask for help and be disappointed again. You smiled through grief. You laughed through heartbreak. You showed up when you were crumbling inside, and the world applauded you for it. They called you strong, but strength without softness is just armor. And you've been wearing that armor for so long, you forgot there's a real person underneath. You forgot that you're allowed to fall apart. You forgot that you're allowed to say, "This hurts, and I don't know how to hold it." You forgot that being human doesn't make you a burden. Carl Jung believed that what we resist persists. And in your silence, in your solitude, in your belief that you must just deal with it, the pain only grew louder. Because pain doesn't vanish in isolation, it echoes. And I know you've been burned by the ones who didn't stay, by the ones who said they'd understand, but didn't, by the ones who used your vulnerability against you. So you built a new truth. It's better to go alone, but that truth is breaking you now, isn't it? Because in the quiet of your own mind, you know something's missing. Not attention, not pity, not validation, connection, real, soul deep. I see you connection, the kind where you can say, "I'm not okay," and someone doesn't flinch, where you can fall apart, and someone stays. But before others can hold you, you must let yourself be seen. You must whisper to the scared part of you, "It's okay to need now." You must open the door you locked years ago and say, "You're safe here." Because true peace doesn't mean never feeling pain again. It means knowing you don't have to hold it all by yourself. It means creating space in your life for others to come in, not to save you, but to sit beside you, to witness your becoming, to remind you that even in your darkest hour, you are not too much. Take a moment, breathe that in. You are not too much. You were never too much. They were simply too little. And now that you've let go of who you had to be, now that you've stopped trying to earn what was always yours, now that you've remembered you were never meant to carry this alone, you are ready. Peace doesn't arrive like a lightning strike. It comes softly. It creeps in the moment you stop pretending, when you sit alone and feel it all, the aching, the shame, the small joys, the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. That's where it lives. Not in perfection, not in answers, but in your raw, unfiltered truth. You see, most people never get to peace, not because they don't want it, but because they're unwilling to lose what was never theirs to begin with. The roles, the performances, the illusions of safety, the patterns that feel familiar but suffocate their spirit. Letting go isn't passive, it's fierce. It's the kind of bravery that doesn't look like a fight but is. And when you finally drop the weight, when you stop clinging to who you were supposed to be, to what you were supposed to have, to the stories that hurt but feel like home, you feel it. A lightness, not loud, not obvious, but a subtle, almost sacred stillness. You might catch yourself smiling in the middle of an ordinary moment, making tea, listening to rain, watching a bird land on your windowsill, and suddenly, you're not reaching, you're not chasing, you're just there, alive, whole, enough. That's peace. Carl Jung believed that we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And now, you've done that. You've looked into your pain without turning away. You've faced the part of you that still cries like a child and said, "You are welcome here." You've laid down the weapons you once called protection. And you've stepped, however trembling, into your own arms. So now the question becomes, what do you do with your peace? Do you guard it like a secret? Do you share it like a gift? Do you let it guide how you love, how you work, how you live? Peace is not the absence of suffering. It's the presence of self. It's not about finally arriving somewhere without pain. It's about finally arriving in you, the real you, the tender, bold, broken, healing, radiant, flawed, miraculous you, the one who doesn't need to fix herself to be loved, the one who doesn't need to be strong to be respected, the one who doesn't need to shrink to be safe. You've always been enough, but now you remember. So let today be a quiet rebellion, a gentle revolution, a soft refusal to keep pretending. You're not a performance. You're not a reflection of their wounds. You're not a container for other people's projections. You're a soul, breathing, beating, becoming. Let the world spin. Let them talk. Let the noise continue. You're listening to something deeper now, yourself, and in that, you are free. There's a strange kind of grief that comes with healing. Not the kind you cry through once and move on, but the kind that sneaks in when you realize how long you lived without softness, how long you bent yourself to fit places that never saw you, how long you kept your truth in a chokehold, just to make sure no one left. That grief isn't weakness. It's sacred. It's the mourning of who you could have been if only you had been loved right. But now, something different is growing in you. Because when you let go, truly let go, not just with your mind, but with your breath, your bones, your spirit, you begin to make room. Room for joy that doesn't feel dangerous. Room for love that doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. Room for rest that doesn't need to be earned. And in that space, peace rises. It shows up in the way you speak to yourself. Softer now. It shows up in the boundaries you set. Clearer now. It shows up in the people you choose. Safer now. You're not perfect, but you're finally present, and that changes everything. You no longer run from your reflection. You no longer silence your desires. You no longer confuse chaos with love. Instead, you sit with yourself, not as a project to be fixed, but as a person to be cherished. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And for so long you called it fate. You thought pain was just your path. That love would always sting. That peace was something for other people. But now, you know better. You know that healing isn't just about feeling better. It's about meeting every part of yourself, the angry part, the scared part, the tender part, and saying, you belong here too. It's about walking back into the places you once disassociated from and reclaiming your voice. It's about forgiving yourself for not knowing what you couldn't have known. It's about loving the version of you that survived, even when she did it in messy, painful ways. And as you walk forward, you carry less, but you hold more. More presence, more clarity, more truth. The kind of truth that doesn't need defending because it's lived, embodied, felt. This peace you found, it's not fragile, it's fierce, because it was earned not through avoidance but through truth, not through numbness, but through feeling it all. And now, every breath is a revolution, every moment of rest an act of rebellion. Every time you choose love without abandoning yourself, you rewrite the story. You are no longer who they shaped. You are who you are shaping. So let the grief come. Let the joy come too. Let the quiet be enough. Let the mess be sacred. Let your healing be the loudest thing about you, even if no one else hears it. Because peace doesn't need to be proven. It just needs to be lived. And maybe no one will notice. How much you've let go. How many nights you sat with your own storm and didn't run. How many times you chose truth over comfort. How often you said, this is mine, and I release it, even when it still clung to your skin like a second body. Maybe they won't see the invisible work, but you will. You'll feel it in the way your body no longer clenches when you say no, in the way you walk into rooms without shrinking, in the way your smile returns, not for show but from somewhere real, because something has shifted. You no longer chase peace. You've become it. You no longer wait for someone else to name your worth. You speak it over yourself. You no longer fear being misunderstood, because you've stopped abandoning yourself just to be accepted. That is the quiet miracle of letting go. You're not who you were. You're not who they told you to be. You're not the pain that shaped you. You are a beginning, a soft, unhurried becoming. Carl Jung never promised that wholeness would be painless. He only whispered that it would be real, that the path to inner peace wasn't paved with answers but with authenticity. And you, dear soul, you've walked that path through the mud of memory, through the fog of confusion, through the valleys of loneliness. And look at you now. You're here, breathing differently, living from the inside out, loving with boundaries that don't need explanation. Peace doesn't always roar. Sometimes it arrives in the smallest ways, like how you pause before reacting, like how you stop needing to be understood to stay, like how you rest without guilt, like how you say, I'm still learning, without shame. You no longer carry what isn't yours. You no longer perform for connection. You no longer negotiate your value. And you don't need a parade. You don't need a medal, because something more powerful than applause has taken root. You believe in your own enoughness, and from that place everything changes. Your relationships, your choices, your energy, your presence. You begin to attract peace, not because you seek it, but because you are finally aligned with it. So this is where we pause, not at the end, but at a beginning disguised as stillness, where you close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and whisper, I release what was never mine. I forgive what was forced on me. I welcome who I am without the noise. And if this found you at the right time, if something opened in you, if the words felt like someone finally said what you never knew you needed to hear, then you are not alone. You are one of many who are quietly waking up to themselves. Thank you for letting these words walk beside you. If you feel lighter, softer, or just more, you subscribe. Share this with someone who's still holding on too tightly, and leave a comment with one thing you're finally ready to let go of. Because healing doesn't happen in silence. It happens in moments like this, together,